She said I'd never be enough and left me for a man going somewhere in life. Months later, she discovered I was engaged to his boss and realized I'd been the one going places all along. When I tell people this story, they usually think I'm exaggerating. I wish I was. My girlfriend, Tessa, and I had been together for almost 3 years. We'd gone through a lot together, renting our first apartment, long hours at jobs we both hated, saving little by little for something we called the dream trip. Japan. It was our shared obsession. We watched Japanese cooking shows together, practiced phrases at night, even had a folder named Tokyo 2025 full of itineraries, flight comparisons, and ryokans we wanted to stay in. Every month, we'd each transfer a set amount into our joint vacation fund. It was sitting at just over $8,200 when everything fell apart. One Tuesday evening, I was working late when I got a text from her. Tessa, hey, don't freak out. I'm using our vacation fund to bail my ex out of jail. You understand. I just stared at my screen. I thought maybe it was a joke. I waited for a follow-up text. A LOL, AJK, something. But nothing came. After 5 minutes, I texted back. What? She replied instantly. He's not a bad guy. He just made a mistake. His family doesn't have the money, and I can't let him rot in there. You'd do the same for a friend. A friend. Her ex-boyfriend, someone she'd dated for nearly 4 years before me, was now her friend. I sat there in silence, feeling this dull pressure behind my ribs. The logical part of my brain wanted to yell, to demand an explanation, to say, that's our money. But I didn't. Instead, I typed, family first. Do what you have to. Then I stared at the message for a good minute before hitting send. And something inside me just flipped. She'd made her choice. I was going to make mine. That night, I logged into the joint savings account. She hadn't transferred the money yet. The account was still untouched. I quietly moved my half, every cent I'd contributed, into my personal account. Then I transferred an additional $1,500 from my checking into a separate travel card I'd been using for emergencies. At 3 a.m., I sat on my couch, the glow of my laptop screen lighting up the room, and I did what we had always dreamed about doing. I booked a one-way ticket to Tokyo. Departure, Thursday, 9:30 a.m. I didn't tell anyone. Not her. Not my family. Not my friends. Just me, a backpack, and a simple plan. Disappear for a while. The next day, Tessa came home acting completely normal. She even kissed me on the cheek and asked if I wanted Thai food. I said sure. We ate. Watched an episode of some sitcom she liked. She laughed. I didn't. Then, casually, she said, I'm going to handle the bail thing tomorrow. It'll be fine. We can rebuild the vacation fund later, right? I just nodded. Yeah, of course. Family first. She smiled, kissed me again, and said she loved me. I said it back, one last time. The morning of my flight, I left her a single note on the kitchen counter. I understand. Have a good life. Then I turned off my phone before boarding. For 12 hours, I sat by the window, watching clouds drift below me, a strange mixture of peace and heartbreak running through me. When I landed in Tokyo and turned my phone back on, I had 31 missed calls, 16 texts, and one voicemail. I didn't open any of them. Not yet. I just stood in Narita Airport, breathing in the moment. I'd done it. I'd finally taken our dream trip, just not the way either of us imagined. When I finally opened my phone that first night in Tokyo, I expected anger. What I didn't expect was desperation. There were 29 missed calls from Tessa, a handful of voicemails, and a wall of texts that started confident and slowly dissolved into panic. Tessa, hey, can you transfer me the money for the bail? I'll put it back later. Tessa, are you ignoring me? This is serious. Tessa, where is the money? It's gone. You didn't. Tessa, what the hell did you do? Tessa, don't do anything stupid, please. We can fix this. And then a final one, 2 hours later. Tessa, I just got off the phone with the bank. You took your half. Wow, real mature. I read it while sitting outside a ramen shop near Shinjuku. Steam rising from my bowl. The sounds of Tokyo at night humming around me. I laughed quietly to myself. Mature, she'd said. She used our dream fund for her ex's bail, and somehow I was the immature one. That first week in Japan was surreal. The freedom hit like a cold wind, sharp and refreshing, but a little painful at first. I visited shrines we'd planned to see together, hiked the Arashiyama bamboo forest, watched the sunrise over Mount Fuji from a train window. Everywhere I went, I saw tiny versions of what could have been us. Couples holding hands, sharing laughter, feeding each other bites of street food. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel bitter. I just felt alive. I made friends with a small group of travelers from Canada, one of whom, Mia, had this contagious, chaotic energy. She was everything Tessa wasn't: spontaneous, curious, kind without agenda. We bonded over our mutual love for travel and bad decisions. One night, while we were sitting on a rooftop bar overlooking Tokyo Tower, she said, "So, who broke your heart?" I laughed, but I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She just nodded, sipping her drink. You know what's funny? People always think losing someone means losing your future. But sometimes, it just means getting yours back. That line stuck with me, because that's exactly what happened. Back home, things were apparently unraveling fast. When I finally checked social media a week later, my notifications were insane. Mutual friends tagging me in posts, demanding me screenshots of Tessa's vague, inspirational quotes like, "Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what truly matters." And people change when they realize what they lost. Classic damage control. But the comments told the real story. People were asking where I was, why I'd disappeared, and why she was posting photos of fancy dinners and cocktails with no mention of her boyfriend. Then came the one photo that made everything click. Tessa, smiling weakly in front of a courthouse. Caption: Life comes full circle. Sometimes love means helping someone get a second chance. And there it was, clear as day, her ex standing just behind her, out of focus but unmistakable. 2 days later, I got a text from her again. "Tessa, I hope you're safe. I don't know what you're trying to prove, but this isn't fair. Tessa, I used the money for someone who needed it. You running away doesn't make you a better person. Tessa, you're being cruel." I didn't reply. Instead, I opened Instagram and posted a photo of myself at a Michelin-star sushi restaurant in Ginza. Caption: First solo date. Not bad company. 10 minutes later, she viewed it, then liked it, then unliked it. The next morning, I woke up to another message. "Tessa, you went without me? Japan? Are you serious right now? Tessa, that was our trip. Tessa, I can't believe you're actually doing this." I almost replied. Almost. But then I remembered the tone of her voice when she said she was bailing out her ex. That self-assured, dismissive tone that made it clear she'd made her decision without even considering me. So I just smiled and locked my phone. It's funny how fast people reveal who they really are when money's involved. Within 2 weeks, she'd burned through what was left in her account. Apparently, her ex had promised to pay her back, but hadn't even returned her calls. Mutual friends started messaging me, saying she was a mess, regretting everything, talking about flying to Japan to find you. I didn't believe them at first, until I got the call. It was 4 a.m. in Tokyo. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. "Tessa, please can we talk?" Her voice was shaking. "I made a mistake. I thought I was helping someone. But he used me. He's gone, and now I have nothing left." I didn't interrupt. I just listened. Then she said softly, "You were supposed to be my forever. I didn't think you'd actually leave." There was a pause. Then, quietly, I said, "Neither did I." And I hung up. Update 1.it had been 3 weeks since that last phone call. 3 weeks since I heard Tessa's voice crack through the static, pleading for a conversation I knew I'd never give her again. By then, Japan didn't feel like a getaway anymore. It felt like home. I'd extended my stay, found a small apartment in a quiet part of Kyoto, and started working remotely for a startup I'd met through one of Mia's friends. Life was peaceful, simple, mine. But peace, as I learned, has a way of getting interrupted by the ghosts you thought you'd buried. It started with an email. From Marjorie B. Subject: Please read. It's about Tessa. I froze when I saw the name. Her mother. I hadn't heard from her since last Christmas, when she sent me one of those overly cheerful "Merry Christmas, sweetie" messages, not realizing Tessa had already started drifting away. This time, the tone was different. Polite, careful, measured. "Hello, my name. I know this might seem strange, and I completely understand if you don't want to respond. But I wanted to reach out on behalf of Tessa. Things have been difficult since you left. She hasn't been herself. I don't know all the details, but she told me she made a terrible mistake and that she wishes she could make it right. I'm not asking you to forgive her. I just want to know that you're okay. She's been spiraling. Please, if nothing else, let me know you're safe. I read that message 3 times. Part of me wanted to delete it, pretend it never came. But another part, the part that still remembered family dinners, holiday photos, and how her parents used to treat me like one of their own, couldn't ignore it. So I replied, "Hi, Marjorie. I appreciate the message. I'm fine. Actually doing really well. I'm sorry to hear Tessa's struggling, but I hope she finds peace. I've moved on, and I think she should too. Best." My name. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. A week later, I got a call. The number looked familiar, a US area code I hadn't seen in months. Against my better judgment, I answered, "Hello." There was a pause, then a voice I hadn't heard in forever. "Hey, kiddo." It was her father, Mark, the man who once shook my hand and told me, "If you ever hurt my daughter, I'll kill you." Now his tone was softer. Exhausted. "Listen," he began. "I don't know what happened between you two. She's only told us her side, and even that doesn't add up. But she's not doing good. Lost her job, some money problems, that guy she bailed out is gone. We're just trying to pick up the pieces." I said nothing. He sighed. "I'm not calling to guilt you. You don't owe her anything. Hell, between you and me, I think she learned a hard lesson. I just wanted to say, I always respected you, son. You handled this whole thing better than I would have." For a second, I didn't know what to say. This was the man who once looked at me like I wasn't good enough for his daughter, and now he was calling to tell me he respected me. "Thank you," I said quietly. "I wish her well." "You're a good man," he said. "Don't let what she did change that." And with that, he hung up. That night, I sat on my balcony overlooking Kyoto's glowing skyline, holding my phone loosely in one hand. It was strange how closure sometimes comes not from the person who hurt you, but from the people who once stood behind them. I didn't hate Tessa anymore. I didn't even pity her. I just released her. I realized something important that night. Love isn't always about who you choose. Sometimes, it's about who you stop choosing. And when I finally put down my phone, I felt lighter, as if the last invisible thread connecting us had quietly snapped in the wind. The next morning, I met Mia for coffee before she left for a trip to Osaka. She smiled when she saw me and asked, "You okay? You look like someone who finally slept." I laughed. "Yeah, I think I finally did." She grinned. "Good. Then you're ready for what's next." I didn't know what she meant by that. Not until she handed me 2 tickets. Tokyo. Fireworks Festival. This weekend. You're coming with me. For the first time in a long, long while, I said yes without hesitation. Final update: a year can change everything. Or at least, it did for me. I'd built a new life in Japan that no longer felt like an escape. It was home. My Japanese had gotten better, my work had grown into a full-time international role, and Mia, the woman who once saved me with nothing more than a coffee and a conversation, had become my fiancée. We'd just finished a business trip in Singapore and were flying home through Los Angeles. The airport was packed, buzzing with the kind of chaos that only big terminals have. I was holding Mia's hand, half distracted by her laughter, when I heard it. "Wait. My name." It was like hearing a song you'd forgotten, familiar, distant, almost unreal. I turned, and there she was, Tessa. Her hair was shorter now, darker. She looked thinner, not in a flattering way, but in a way that told me stress had been her shadow for too long. Her eyes widened when she saw me, and for a few seconds, neither of us said a word. Finally, she managed, "Wow, it's really you." I nodded politely. "It's been a while." She smiled, the kind of smile people force when they're trying to hide regret. "You look good. Really good." "Thanks," I said, glancing at Mia, who was quietly watching with that calm, curious smile she always had. "This is Mia, my fiancée." Tessa froze. The word fiancé seemed to hit her like a stone. She blinked, took a small step back, and her smile faltered just slightly. "Oh, wow. Congratulations." Mia extended her hand, gracious, kind, effortless. "It's nice to meet you." "You too," Tessa said, her voice a little tight. "I've heard. Well, I guess I haven't heard much, actually." I smiled faintly. "Yeah, I've been keeping busy." There was a silence. Not awkward, just final. A year ago, that silence would have been heavy with everything unsaid. Now it was just peaceful. "Listen," she said softly, "I never got to say I'm sorry. For what I did. For how I treated you. I thought I was making the right choices, but—" "You don't have to explain," I interrupted gently. "We both made our choices." And I think it worked out exactly how it was supposed to. She nodded, biting her lip. Her eyes shimmered just a little, and I realized she wasn't angry anymore, just sad. Maybe not even for me, but for herself. You really went to Japan, huh? Yeah. Ended up loving it. Still there. I saw the photos, she said quietly. The restaurants. The trips. You always were the kind of guy who made things happen. That used to sound like an insult from her. Now it sounded like respect. Mia lightly squeezed my hand, our silent cue that our gate was boarding soon. We should probably go, I said. Tessa nodded, forcing another small smile. Of course. It was really good seeing you, my name. And I mean that. You too, Tessa. Take care of yourself. And just like that, it was over. We walked toward our gate. I didn't look back. But just before we turned the corner, I caught a glimpse of her reflection in the glass, standing still, watching us, her expression unreadable. On the plane, Mia leaned against my shoulder. That was her, wasn't it? Yeah, I said quietly. You okay? I smiled. I am now. She smiled too. Good. Because I think she finally saw what she lost. I turned to look out the window as the plane lifted off, LA shrinking beneath the clouds. It hit me then. Sometimes, closure doesn't come in words, or apologies, or even justice. Sometimes, it comes when you realize you're no longer angry. When the person who once broke you becomes just another face in a crowd. That's when you know you've healed.